Hey y'all, Sherry G, and I'm back with another video. This video, I'm going to be talking about Kimmi and Maurice Scott. You know, they've been trending lately. People have been really going in on them. They've been getting a lot of backlash. Maurice, for the way he answered questions on his live or his interview with Carlos King as it pertains to Kimmi. And just some of the things he said that seemed to be so self-centered and very insensitive of everything that Kimmi's going through. Kimmi's emotional state at the time that she was been battling through her chemo, radiation, the whole cancer journey, her physical state, all of that. He just seemed to be more concerned about himself and his sexual desires, more so than Kimmi and her lack of libido. So anyway, I am going to give some commentary on that, but most specifically, I'm going to be focusing on this most recent interview that Kimmi and Maurice did over at Fox Soul, because I found it to be pretty interesting, and at the same time, it was disappointing. So before I do that, and before I get into my views on that particular interview, let me go ahead and drop my disclaimer. So I'll drop disclaimer. I'll be back with my views and all of that. Keep in mind that everything I state in my commentary is my opinion. It's alleged. It's for fair use and all that jazz. If you haven't done so, go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I'll be right back. Hey y'all, I know I said I was going to be back with my views on the interview, but let me go ahead and drop just a little clip courtesy of Fox Soul, shout out to them, of the interview, and then I'll come back with some more commentary. I think that if you could just listen, you'd get a better view. But here's one thing I do want to say. When I was watching this interview, when it first started, you know, I'm a person that kind of sits back and looks at everything. I like to internalize things, people's body language, their facial expressions, all of that. And when I first saw the way Kimmi and Maurice were sitting, I thought, man, this reminds me of another couple. And by the way, the way they were sitting, it reminded me of Derek Jackson and his wife when they came to do an interview to kind of like put it out there that yes, he cheated, but their marriage was in a better place, whatever all of that, you know, was about at that particular time. Their body language sort of reminded me of that, because in my mind, Kimmi looked uncomfortable. And I found it very interesting that later on throughout this interview, the interview with Fox Soul, that Funky Dineva actually stated that he too felt like Kimmi looked uncomfortable. So he is going to mention that in his in this little video clip. I didn't clip the whole thing, just like the last part of it. And so in this last little part of the interview, he does and actually address that with Kimmi. So you'll hear her answer to that. And then, like I said, once you hear this particular audio, I'll be back with my commentary. So let's take a listen.
Love and Marriage Huntsville. We are seeing you all open up about the struggles of co-parenting, which is very commendable, I must say. But let me ask you a question. What do you think is the biggest challenge that you two are facing when it comes to co-parenting? And question number two, how are you working through it?
Our difference of opinions in what raising kids. Period. Like the amount of responsibilities, I think for me right now is the amount of responsibilities that I feel children should have, and us as parents should enforce. And I think he's a little more lax in that particular area. And so it causes us a little, you know, head bump trying to raise a teenager.
Yeah, I think that the fact that Kimmi has raised Jalen, and Jalen is doing excellent and amazing right now, is a feather in her cap as far as that she's already been there, done that. We're raising Monster right now, and even though things are different, even with Monster and Jalen, sometimes we still have a difference of opinion, even though I know that she's been successful in raising a young man.
You know, I don't want to belabor a point, but I just can't help but notice, Kimmi, you look very uncomfortable right now.
Me?
Yeah, are you?
No, see, I'm not uncomfortable. What's funny, I guess to me, is that listening to the questions, and sometimes I think that he doesn't always answer the question at hand. And so I'm not uncomfortable at all. But sometimes in my head, I'm like, oh, that's kind of not what she said. Or like, she kind of hit you the ball 2 times and you kind of let it go 2 times. Mm-hmm. So I'm not uncomfortable, but in my head, I'm just trying not to interrupt him or guide his answer in another direction. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just trying to listen to, his response.
I understand what you're saying, Kimmi, woman to woman. I think your husband loves you. It's obvious you love him. There's clearly a disconnect in the communication as a third party looking in. And I'm no expert because I'm not married. You guys are. But I've been in relationships that are similar to this. And my advice would be, Maurice, you don't have to be inside of her to know how she thinks she's your wife. You see her every day. You know when she's sad. You know when something hurts her feelings. And Kimmi, I think you really protect him because there's a public light on you, and I get it. Because you don't want the public coming for your man. You love him. But at the end of the day, you can't fully heal from anything when you're emotionally fucked up. And Maurice, your job is to make sure your wife feels good and, bend over and take it. This would be the perfect opportunity to rephrase it. You don't have to. I've been pushing it. You don't have to. But it would have been nice to hear some kind words to rephrase that. Because if I heard a man say that about me, I'd be fucking horrified. Never mind. And she has to already go through so much. And you said it. Your wife is willing to... I've been with a fine-ass men that are beautiful and everything is perfect in our relationship. Not perfect, but things are good in our relationship. But I'm turned off from something small. I couldn't imagine going through chemo and what that feels like. And then having a magnifying glass of a reality show talking shit. Just be mindful as a couple because it will tear you apart. Been there, done that. I'm not telling you this from someone that hasn't. And I really hope y'all get through this because there is love, obviously. But the communication it's like you guys are going like this, And I don't know if y'all, it sounds like talking at each other or not.
So Maurice and Kimmi, we love y'all so much. And soulmates, y'all make sure that y'all catch Love and Marriage Huntsville on Saturdays.
Okay, y'all. So like I said, that was just the ending little snippet of the interview between Maurice and Kimmi and the Fox Soul panels. So anyway, 2 things were actually addressed in this entire interview. One was Maurice's statements and views when he, on his sexual needs during Kimmi's cancer journal, when he was having his interview with Carlos King and how all of that went viral. So they addressed that, and how everyone was attacking Maurice or, voicing their concerns for Kimmi and their disgust for Maurice after that interview. And then they also talked about the co-parenting. In my opinion, Claudia hit the nail on the head with her sentiments regarding Maurice and Kimmi and, their communication, because it is definitely the thing that is off. In my opinion, it just seems like everything in this interview, it seemed to be about Maurice. It seemed to be about Kimmi protecting Maurice, Maurice protecting Maurice. Even when Claudia kind of put it out there, well, we're just giving you an opportunity to rephrase your statements because they were messed up. He still never took that opportunity to rephrase the statement. And so in my opinion, Kimmi is hell-bent on protecting her husband. And you know what? It just is what it is. But I think for the fans, for most of us, those of us who were kind of vying for Kimmi, we're kind of seeing her a little differently now. Kimmi stated the reason for her looking uncomfortable was that she was trying to process what Maurice was saying, while at the same time fighting the urge to push him in another direction, because we know that that is one of the things that fans have been saying, that she doesn't give Maurice a chance to answer questions. She'll just kind of get in there and she'll answer it for him in a means to kind of protect him. So I guess they wanted to pull away from that. But I could see her, fighting with that in her head. So I'll go ahead and give that to her. However, in addition, she did look defeated. She looked defeated to me. Like, her whole body language was just like, oh my God, what is really happening? For one, I don't think she really wanted to be there. I don't think she really wanted to do that interview. Maurice and what's his name? Funky Dineva, excuse me. They have a past relationship, like a friendship, sort of a social friendship. I'll just put it that way. And so I believe, this is my opinion, and I'm alleging that Maurice probably reached out to Funky Dineva when he was seeing all of the backlash that was happening on social media, on YouTube, on the different social media sites, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. When he seen all of that backlash that he was receiving after his interview with Carlos King, I felt like he sat down and was wondering, how do I come back from that? And who am I going to use? And in my opinion, Funky Dineva would be the best choice, right? Because like I said, they have garnered a type of friendship, relationship type thing going on. So anyway, that makes sense to me. And I could see her not really wanting to do it, because at the same time, she has to make him look like he's talking on his own. She's not forcing any words on him. So, like she said, she was struggling with that, but at the same time, she looked like she was defeated. And this is just my opinion. I feel like she not only not wanted to be there, but once Maurice started talking, I believe, this is again my opinion, she realized that Maurice didn't make things any better in this interview. As a matter of fact, he made things worse, because, like Claudia said, we opened up the door. I gave you a chance to kind of restate things, to kind of, show some empathy, show some compassion, and he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything like that. So actually, instead of lessening the blow, he just made things worse. Like I said, it was a total lack of empathy and compassion. He showed none of it, just more concerned about himself and clearing his name. I don't know. Kimmi, she's a queen of wordsmith, but she doesn't seem to be the queen of her castle, in my opinion. She's very articulate. She has a way with words, but her action speaks to me an entirely different truth. Okay, y'all. So when it comes to Kimmi and Maurice, I really hope that they do work on their communication skills. Like Claudia said, that is a big part of their problem. I think the other part of their problem is they have two different views. So communication is one thing, but when you have two different views on what a marriage is and what a marriage looks like, then that totally makes for some problems if you can't compromise and make some headway on how you're going to move forward with having these different views. In my opinion, Kimmi wants partnership. That's what she really wants. But not so much Maurice. I think he is very misogynistic. And I feel that looking at Kimmi now, she does potentially fall into the category of a male-identified female. And it's pretty sad, because to me, she's very intelligent. She has a lot of hope. Potential, I'll put it that way. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how we feel, how I feel, how anyone else feels. If Kimmi doesn't feel deep down inside, if she doesn't have that security deep down inside, that love for herself deep down inside, then it doesn't matter what the rest of us see, what the rest of us feel. At the end of the day, I think for me, it's just a big disappointment to see what's happening with Kimmi, with this whole ordeal. I think it's pretty messed up the way Maurice is treating her and his lack of empathy and compassion for her, his more overall concern for herself. And it's also sad to see that that Kimmi takes up for him. I mean, I get it, you know, like you don't want to put your man down in the public, but again, you're still shedding another light on the situation that's not good. While you're trying to protect him, you're really not doing a good job at protecting him. I just think it's better to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Work on it, get the counseling, whatever that looks like, and do the real work that is required to have a real good, strong marriage versus trying to put on an image in front of the public. You know, I don't expect them to rip each other apart, because there's a respectful way to handle things and do things to work through conflict. And that would be a beautiful thing to see. That would be an excellent portrayal of Black excellence if we could see how this couple would maneuver through their differences and come through some real compromise to work through their different views on parenting, their different views on relationship period, the different views on what their marriage should look like, feel like, and be like. That would be a bigger blessing. That would fall under the Black excellent category that we were looking forward to seeing in this show, as it pertains to the love part, the marriage part of this show. It's already disappointing enough with the business aspects, but that would have been beautiful to see. So I feel like for me, that's where the disappointment comes in. It's because I'm not seeing that, you know, at all. It's just like, oh, here we go again. They're trying to save face for the public, but really not doing a good job, just making it worse. So anyway, that's all I have for you for today for this video. Guys, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, because I will be back. Until then, ciao.